business sector, sorry. Changes in consumer taste alter what products are grown and raised. Agribusiness denotes the collective business activities that are performed from farm to fork. It covers the supply of agricultural inputs, the products and transformation of agricultural products. It includes all the activities within the agricultural food and natural resource industry involved in the production of food and fiber. Agribusiness provides people with food, clothing, and shelter. It also provides jobs for millions of people in science, research, engineering, education, advertisement, government agenda, and their distribution to final trade organizations and commodity organizations. It is one of the main generators of employment and income worldwide. The sector is subject to stringent regulatory controls on consumer safety, product quality, and environmental protection. Traditional production and distribution methods are being replaced by more closely coordinated and better planned linkages between agribusiness firms, farmers, retailers, and others in the supply chains. According to Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, investment in agriculture are the best weapons against hunger and poverty, and they have made life better for billions of people. Hence, we considered it's apt to highlight the role of agribusiness in eradication of poverty, and in association with IQAC is organizing this webinar titled Agribusiness, an Ocean of Opportunities for Youth. This webinar aims to provide valuable and insightful information on the concept of agribusiness and the opportunities provided by it. Definitely, this webinar will enrich some knowledge about agribusiness and enable the youth in grabbing the opportunities in order to become self-reliant and self-sufficient, which ultimately leads to the prosperity of the nation. This is an interactive session. You can clarify your doubts with the resource person at the end of the session. Now, I request Mrs. Sheikh Kwazabi, one of the coordinators of the webinar series, to introduce today's esteemed resource person, Dr. Gauri Shankar Rao Garu, Dean, School of Agricultural Sciences and Technology, Shirpur.
Hello. Respected dignitaries. Ma'am, am I audible, ma'am? Hello?
Yeah, you are audible. Yeah, Kazu,
okay.
continue. Yeah, Kazu, continue.
Yes,
Respected dignitaries, dear students, good evening all of you. I am Sheikh Hajabi, Assistant Professor of Commerce and one of the coordinator of this webinar series. It's my privilege to introduce today's esteemed resource person, Dr. Gauri Shankar Garu. He is presently working as a Dean of School of Agriculture Sciences and Technology, Shirpur, Maharashtra. College, Bapatla, Andhra University, Andhra Pradesh. Postgraduated from the School of Agriculture, Hyderabad, and pursued PhD from Indian Agriculture Research Institute, New Delhi. He has a vast experience and served in various positions not only in India but also abroad. He started his career as an agriculture research scientist in government sector but later shifted to private sector and served in various organizations. He served as a senior consultant for special projects in Agri-Rain Industries Private Limited, Hyderabad, and served as a general manager in Srinivasa Farms Private Limited, Srinivasa Hatchery Groups, Hyderabad. He served as an agriculture manager in Dhofar Cattle Feed Company, SAOG, Salah, Sultanate of Oman. Served as a CEO, MD of Sabasta Crop Technology Private Limited, Hyderabad. Served as a Vice President of Research and Development of Ventura Crop Sciences Private Limited, Hyderabad. Served as a lead for seed quality control in Indian Foundation Seed and Services Association at Hyderabad. Served as a scientist, Institute of Vegetable Research, Indian Council of Agriculture Research too. He has a vast teaching experience also. He worked as a lecturer in AV College of Arts and Sciences and Commerce at Hyderabad. Served as a guest faculty in Food and Agriculture School and Center for Sustainable Agriculture at Hyderabad. Served as a consultant of Buddhavarapu Farms, Kankri, Republic of Guinea, West Africa, and also at Asad Farms, Kampala, Uganda. He also served as a freelancer and acting as a life member of Indian Society of Seed Technology, Indian Society of Vegetable Sciences, and Indian Society of Genetic and Plant Breeding, and handled many research projects like identification of hybrid and genetic purity testing of hybrids of Solanaceous vegetables as PI, like a Indian Council of Agriculture Research ad hoc projects for 11.8 lakhs. He handled and maintenance breeding and multiplication of parental lines of rice hybrid USA RH10 PI Barwale Foundation funded project for 22 lakhs. Genetic purity testing of rice hybrids using molecular markers as PI Barwala Foundation funded projects 12.5 lakhs. Published more than dozens of research papers in various national and international journals, organized and participated in various seminars, conferences, and webinars. This vast experience and multifaceted knowledge definitely enhance our knowledge. Let us welcome Gauri Shankar Garu. Welcome you, sir. We are eagerly waiting for your valuable words and enlighten us with your valuable talk. Welcome you, sir.
Thank you. Good evening, all. Thank you very much. Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. If you can stop the presenting your slides, I will start presenting my slides. Yeah. It's taking some time. Sorry. Yeah. Yeah. Is the screen audible? Screen visible for all of you? May I know? Just.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. I personally thank Dr. Uma Devi Garu for giving me this opportunity, and I take it this presentation as the most interactive one and the most informal form of a presentation. I would not like to take it as a formal one, but if anybody has any quick sort of queries, they can pitch it up at the end of the session so that we can have a discussion. Right. Coming to the today's topic, agribusiness is a term which is always well understood. People think people are really understanding it, and people are really not understanding it. And there is always a huge debate on whether agriculture can be a business or whether agriculture itself is science or not. And we will definitely keep on answering these questions as we proceed in the presentation. And let me introduce the today's topic, that is agribusiness, which is definitely an ocean of opportunities for youth as well as a lot of enthusiasts. If you see today, especially in the agribusiness, you see a lot of people coming. If you really watch a lot of TV shows, especially in and YouTube videos and all, you see a lot of IT guys settled in abroad. They are coming back to India and they are starting one or other piece of agribusiness, and they are claiming themselves that they are making a lot of money. So and definitely, so agribusiness is a huge offers a huge scope of opportunities for youth as well as enthusiasts from any sector of the education. It need not be people who studied agriculture, but definitely the people who studied agriculture will have a better understanding, and they can rationalize the utilization of various resources, as well as they can rationalize the economy part of business. And coming to, before going to anything, let us start understanding what Indian agriculture itself. uh, Let us see the business. The Indian agriculture started something around 9,000 years back at in northwestern part of India, and every history says that uh, our civilizations or our systems, they started with the domestication of crops and animals, and mostly these things happen just near the rivers. If you see any civilization also, they call by a river, the Indus River or Jeel River, whatever it is, all revolutions come from there. And every sustenance of life starts from crops, whether it is crops or animals, that starts with the domestication. And as man started learning new implements and new techniques, and there was always a progress with the implementation of new techniques. And once farmers, we can say farmers or domesticators, crop domesticators, when they started understanding the importance of water, importance of rains, and rains again, usually in Indian context, rains happen twice in a year. So they started managing the crops twice in a year. First, they started as one crop in a year. Then they have started understanding that rains happen both as a southwest monsoons as northeast monsoons, and it happens like twice in a year. So they started understanding when to sow the crop, when to harvest the crop, and when to sow the next crop, and when to harvest the next second crop. And the same, some people, they also started rationalizing the time, and started taking more than two crops, that three crops in a year. So this is how the intensification of agriculture started. Then when the intensification started, as you understand, the good and bad days just happen like in cycles. Like some lean years where entire crops were damaged because of some drought. Entire some crops were completely damaged, and India also faced a lot of a lack of food material, and like famines, otherwise called lack of food material. Then we started depending upon foreign countries like US, Mexico, and like those days were simply as and when ship arrived in our post, we used to get our food to our mouth. So those days were called ship to mouth. Then uh, our people started a lot of research and find for various problems. Then in this process, there were so many revolutions like yellow revolution, black revolution, blue revolution, brown revolution. Suppose if I say yellow revolution is something related to oil seeds, black revolution is related to petroleum products, blue revolution is related to fish production, so a lot of revolutions happened, and then we started making ourselves self-sufficient and self-sustainable. So this is how I would like to show the picture. Like with the simple adoption of technology, we started becoming very strong and self-sustainable. And from there, after become self-sustainable, we started exporting the products as well as commodities to abroad, and we started earning a lot of foreign exchequer. So this is how if a farmer, a nomadic person, man who started as a hunter and a domesticator of a small few crops, now we became a organizer producer of various crops, and now we could reach most important food and nutrition securities of teeming population. I would always say teeming population. The population of human beings are increasing like anything, even when compared to any other animal. So as the population increases, there will be number of mouths increasing. So we need to produce more, and all the production should be most sustainable and self-sufficient to feed all the mouths minute and every second in the world. So let us see what Indian agriculture is like. it provides almost like 65% of the livelihood of the Indian population, and it provides around 27% of the nation's GDP, and it contributes almost like 21% of total exports and raw materials to the industry. And if you really see which are going out of India, especially agriculture raw materials, they go to China. China, they make it a finishable products and they send it back, and again we are making a product out of that. So we are also doing a lot of exports, total exports, and the growth rate in product in agriculture is almost like 5.7% per annum. And at present, our food grain production is around 220 tons, 210 million tons. If we see the position of India in world agriculture, we are in area wise we stand in the seventh position, and in irrigated area, because many countries might have a lot of water, but all the water available is not suitable for agriculture. And of course, there are certain countries like Israel and even most of the Arabian Middle East countries, they are desalinizing their available sea water, and they are using for producing more crops. And again, they are technically very advanced, and their per drop production of the production out of every drop of water is almost like 100,000 times more than our country, because they have less water, they know the value of water. And of course, if you see the context in India, if in India, at least we don't care for water, and we don't know the value of water. And if you see the most of the major irrigation projects constructed during a lot of political arenas, they spend huge money on it. And if what is the cost of per liter for the tail end farmer, it will be it runs in lakhs of rupees. It means like the whatever investment have been put on major and minor irrigation dams and all. If you convert that into the per liter availability of water to the farmer, it will be in lakhs of rupees. But still, our farmers don't know the value of water, and we always have been abusing the water in the agriculture sector. But still, it's okay as long as India doesn't face water scarcity, especially in for agriculture. Almost in entire country is facing drinking water facility scarcity in drinking water, and so there are few states always fight for the irrigation water also. But still, we are blessed. We can say we are blessed because we are blessed with two very good monsoon seasons in our country, and we get plenty of rainwater. And that water itself is more than sufficient for cultivating lots of crops in this country. And apart from that, our population is second largest after China. And if you see the active population who can contribute for the economic benefit of the country, we stand second in the world. And coming to the various crops, we stand third in total cereals. Cereals include rice, wheat, maize, and minor millets. Coming to wheat, we stand second. Rice, we stand second, and coarse grains like minor millets, what we call, we stand fourth, and in pulses we stand first. It is very interesting to understand the pulses which give most of the proteins to the human beings as well as animals. We stand first in the world. And in oilseeds, we stand second, and fruits and vegetables, we stand second. Implements like the tractors and all farm implements, we stand third. And very interesting point is in terms of livestock and milk, we stand first in the world. And coming to other statistics points, and we are the largest and producer as well as the consumer for food grains. And India has 5 major world climate categories. So we have a huge diversity where we can produce various types of crops, and our farmers can make a lot of money out of the crops. Because if you travel right from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, you see various even soil types are different, climate is different, and based upon the soil and climate, the crops are different. As the crops are different, and their productivities are different, and their profitabilities are different, and India offers a huge diversity for farmers and for making a lot of good money. And coming to the cultivable land, India has 52% of cultivable land, whereas in the world it has only 11%. If you see it, if you compare the most of the European countries and countries like America or Canada, they might be having huge land, but the cultivable land is very less because of, and even the climate, they are very, very tough. They, they may not allow the growing crops like. So that's why they depend upon a lot of greenhouses and polyhouses. In, as I said, we are lucky enough that we grow a lot of crops, multiple crops in a region itself. If you see across the regions, the diversity is huge. And coming to vegetables and fruits, we produce world's 41% of mangoes, 23% of banana, 24% of cashew. The statistics go on. And coming to the world meat and poultry, we produce 53% of world's buffalo meat, and we are the first, we are the topmost producer of buffaloes, and 17% of goat, and we are the fifth. We stand fifth position in the world egg production, and and we are second in sugarcane. But despite these statistics and nature of soils, nature of diversity of climatic conditions, we have been seeing every morning or every very often we always see like a farmer committing suicide. Otherwise, a IT guy coming from imported from abroad, they start business and started saying from 1 acre generated a revenue of 2 lakhs, 3 lakhs per month, something like that. And it shows that there is huge diversity in understanding and application, adoption of technologies, adoption of business models. And if you clearly see the resourceful farmers still depend upon whatever seed available, still depend upon whatever fertilizers are available in the government sector or given in subsidy. And sometimes they get cheated because of the quality of seed, because of many times monsoon cheats, many times floods cheat, especially in our districts like East Godavari and West Godavari. Most of the time, cyclones means this god of rain always cheat us. So there is a huge doldrums. Farmers go through a lot of doldrums. And on the other side, if you see these things, this is a tomato crop in a polyhouse where it grows tall, and the productivity, if you compare the productivity in the open field and in a polyhouse, it varies from 100 to 500 tons. In an acre, if you are producing 10 tons in a open field, it will be like 500 tons or something like that. So there is huge gap, and that gap is just because of optimum utilization of technologies, optimum utilization of resources, and how to reach there, and what is the real challenges. That is still we have to understand, and we need to go to that level. And many a times we people, even educated people like us, we always try to understand what is agriculture. And agriculture people always used to get confused. Is agriculture alone, or agriculture is a group of activities? At least think about it, and if you seriously compare what agriculture has been in the past, in our history, agriculture was never alone. Agriculture was always a multidisciplinary and integrated occupation. I say agriculture is an occupation, is a lifestyle. It's a more like a what is a religion. It is like a religion. Whatever we follow in religion, how judiciously or how sincerely we follow religion, the same thing even a farmer follows. The farmer will be very, very religious when to sow, when to harvest, because that's why most of our harvest festivals, most of our festivals are related to agriculture. So this is not at all an alone. It is always an multidisciplinary and integrated occupation, which has agriculture where we are producing cereals, pulses, oilseeds, and commercial crops like cotton, sugarcane, and all. And also there are crops like horticulture crops like vegetables, fruits. In vegetables, there is a huge basket of crops, and fruits also there are huge. And coming to ornamentals like flowers and many things. And the most important thing, nowadays people are really talking about is medicinal and aromatic plants, which gives a lot of revenues out of it. And if somebody have stayed even for a short term in US or Middle East, and the amount of money they spend on landscaping in those countries are too high. Even if you see in most of our nurseries in Kadiyam, you see the business, the revenues they make out of landscaping and nurseries is too high. So these are not allowed. And coming to animal husbandry, like it is always a part of animal is always a part of a farmer's house, and we cannot alienate animals from a farmer's household. So again, in that again, there is something called dairy for milk as well as beef, whether it is cow or buffalo. Of course, beef is something it is a taboo in this Indian context, but otherwise it was also a business model. And goat and sheep, both they are both for meat as well as milk. And coming to poultry for both egg as well as layers as well as broilers for egg and meat, chicken. And fisheries and prawn culture, they're one of the most revenue generating occupations. And coming to the apiculture, nothing but honeybees, culturing honeybees. And probably nowadays that way we are abusing, excessively using a lot of chemicals and all that. These honeybees are not surviving in our farmers' fields, but otherwise apiculture is one of the most revenue generating occupation. The same is sericulture, that is silkworms, mushrooms. And the most important thing nowadays, every village have neglected, and now everyone is suffering, is like most of the people stopped having animals in their house, in their farms, because they are unable to feed the animals. Maybe if we just remember back our ancestral days, most of the villages used to have a community fodder lands. Maybe panchayat or someone, they used to have a common grazing lands where they were using a lot of grass and so many things. So animals used to go there and feed there and come back. And nowadays, those lands are also not, because of the land values, those lands have been just gone out of the scene. And now people are really suffering for the availability of proper feed and fodder. And even this is a big opportunity for making a lot of money. And again, there are so many things like biological and botanicals, where pheromones and a lot of neem oil type of things are mostly used in uh, organic type of farming system. And coming to let us question ourselves, if agriculture is a lifestyle, can it be made an business and an entrepreneurship? Yeah, it can be done. Like Dr. Swaminathan, who is otherwise popularly known as the father of Indian Green Revolution, he always used to say, if farm ecology and economics go wrong, like farm ecology means whatever is happening in the farm, in the farmers area, and economics means like economics simply I understand most of the students here are commerce students. Commerce or economics, like what you spent, what you get out of it. Like the economics, simple. It is simple. Like what you have spent, what you have earned. And if there is no balance between these two things, there is something wrong in our model. So what the Swaminathan says is, like, if farm economics are going wrong, there is nothing will help to put the agriculture in the right place. So whenever anyone is planning for an operation in agriculture, they should always see what we are spending and what we are going to get out of it. Means like, if you are not making profit, means like our model is wrong and we have to look for a new model. So because due to such a philosophical rethinking, agriculture is slowly shifting from a simple form of lifestyle to agribusiness, where everything is important. Money is important, because now if you see the disparities from rural communities and urban communities, most of the farmers and most of the farmers' children, new generation farmers, rural people, they don't want to be in the village, because they are deprived of everything. So now it is the real time that we should revitalize our rural societies as well as Indian agriculture. We have to attract more and more youth to come into agriculture, back to villages and take up the agriculture. And of course, there is so as a society we are failing. In Indian society is failing for at different fronts that rural people are feeling insecure. The rural people are feeling like they are deprived of many facilities like a good school, good hospital. So we need to revitalize those rural societies if we really want to build agriculture as a business. And of course, now with the new farm bills and all, and most of the things are viewed as a superficial issues, but still they are trying to build a lot of good things. And even our former Prime Minister Dr. Manmohan Singh, who is a very good economist, he was always telling agribusiness and food processing are most important part of modernizing Indian agriculture economy. Definitely, if you are selling an agriculture product commodity as a commodity, like maize as a maize, rice as a rice, you will not get money, or tomato as tomato, you will not get money. What we really have to get it, unless and until we go for a value addition and make it as a product. Always value addition brings a lot of money out of it, and value addition by itself makes a sense that you are adding value to the money what you are expecting out of your commodity. So let us one by one, let us try to understand. Hello. Let us try to understand what is.
I request the participants to please put your microphone, please.
Yeah, fine, fine. Let us try to understand the journey of what is agribusiness. Exactly, I was also just trying to explain what exactly is a farmer in India. And before thinking of any change or any revolution in any system, first we should understand what are the basic problems. If you see in Indian agriculture itself is very unstable, and if you see politically or otherwise also, the importance what different governments other than Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, no other government, no other prime minister have given adequate importance to the agriculture. Might be Mrs. Indira Gandhi has given a bit of importance in the banking system, like in providing financial aid to the farmers. Otherwise, no other farmer have really looked into the beneficial effects of the farmer. So it has been very unstable, and that is one reason why most of the new generation people are worried about making money in the agriculture. And let us don't take the names, but agriculture has been considered as a loss-making proposition. But if you seriously think of in a financial model,
Sorry, sir.
yeah.
Sorry for the interruption. We are
Yeah,
unable to watch your PPT. Please close it and again
okay.
represent the PPT. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Oh. I'm still there.
Yeah, now
Resume your presentation. Yes. Resume your presentation.
Maximize the screen, sir.
I think there is some problem. Stop presenting. Okay. Present now. 1 minute. Yeah.
Yes, sir, it is visible, sir. Just maximize the screen.
yeah, thank you.
Is it okay now?
Yes, sir, it is okay, sir.
Right.
Yes, sir. Okay, sir.
Sorry.
Yes.
It's okay.
So sorry for the inconvenience. Yeah, we are talking about instability of agriculture because of many concerns. And coming to the even cropping systems, our cropping systems are most inefficient because we are not really making a good combination of both food crops as non-food crops. And if you see recent development in Telangana, uh, the Honorable Chief Minister of Telangana, Mr. KCR, has taken a very good decision that he want to regulate the crops, like based upon the
Sir, sorry, sir. Please
yeah.
start the slideshow.
Slideshow is
Slideshow. Sir, please. Yes. Maximize the screen.
Is it not visible now?
Sir, it is visible, sir. It is visible for us.
It is visible.
Sir. It's
Q2,
visible.
is it visible?
Yes, sir.
Is it?
Good, sir.
Visible, sir. It's visible, sir. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. Then we have seen a rationalized thinking of different political leaders like KCR and all. And of course, and again, the most other important thing is like land ownership is a big problem. And because of family systems and all of this, there is a huge subdivision and fragmentation of holdings. So the lands owned by individual farmers is very less, and so they cannot make an economic crop production plans. So there are so many issues, and coming to even technique wise, our crop rotations, use of manures and fertilizers, there are so many issues which need to be attended. And as well said, it is every problem will lead to opportunities. So if you understand a process of any system, like it is simple process of production, processing, and marketing, and everywhere we have an expenses. If you weigh on a balance, there are expenses and there are returns on the either side. If there is any exigency, whether it is making more expenses or getting less returns, it tilts and it make a profitable business an unprofitable and unprofitable business more profitable. That's what every time our farmers come up with a complaint that last year we got good money while we were growing cotton and chilies, and this year while we are doing the same thing, because of some pest or some drought or lack of high heavy rains, we didn't get this much of yield, and so there is no proper return. So we need to understand what are the basic exigencies, and we need to attempt them in a different fashion. And coming to agribusiness, it looks very complex, but if you understand, if you make the business organized, like as it says, if I were organized, I would be more dangerous. Like if a business is organized, it is very simple, and it should be always consumer oriented. Which means any business we should understand what is the needs and what is the likeliness of consumers. And if you are quality conscious, especially in this generation, people are more conscious about health. So people are more conscious about buying organic or otherwise organic foods, or otherwise foods which are not having more of residues of carcinogenic chemicals. So if our agribusiness model is quality conscious, and our agribusiness is model is sustainable and profit making, and it is definitely very successful. And definitely you should always take care of that. There is an ample scope for technology in this business model. Okay, right. And the same, what I was explaining, like a simple corn cob, if you buy on the road, you may get it for 5 rupees or 10 rupees. When it is burned and given, it is 20 rupees. The other day I experienced it was sold at 20 rupees in Hyderabad. So we need to organize our entire process with good seeds, an appropriate mechanization, and measured application. Measured application is one new concept, that whether you are applying a fertilizer, water, or a pesticide, anything, you should give it in a measured application, so that whenever we are applying the crop in a measured manner, it is always of lower quantity. When it is lower quantity means the amount of money you are spending on that input will come down. So we need to understand when crop needs water or when crop needs nitrogen, when crop needs plant needs phosphorus or potassium, whatever. So we need to understand when to give and how much to give and what is the right method of application. So these things are the new technical side of the agriculture what we need to understand, and integrated pest management, a better storage and value addition, and going for a diversification of crops. And most important term nowadays, every household word is organic foods. And I could see a lot of people spending almost like 4 or 5 times more than the usual cost for buying organic foods. And if your crop is suitable, means like uh, people are means like even today because of farm bill, people are saying and the most intellectual guys like our Dr. J. Prakash Narayan and all, they are saying once the new bill comes, we can export a lot of foods to the abroad. But exports, there will be a lot of concerns when you are exporting. They always look at a lot of quality like crop residue, pesticide residues, and a lot of things. The quality parameters are be taken care. Means like when you are producing crops like organic foods or residue-free foods, we can get more opportunities for exports, and we can make good money. And I would just go through few success stories, and most of the success stories will be related to Andhra Pradesh and Telangana. So, they are just to excite us people. If you see that there are successful entrepreneurs in seed industry, Dr. B.R. Barwale, of course, he is no more, but he is considered to be a father of seed industry in this country. And if you see how he started his journey, he went around one institute, great institute in India, Indian Agriculture Research Institute, for a field visit. He is basically not an agriculture guy; he is an engineer. He went and he saw one bendi crop called Pusa Savani. And when he saw the Pusa Savani bendi otherwise it's called lady's finger, he was so excited that he brought the seed, a handful of seed from the IARI, and he started going in his home at Aurangabad. And when he started going, other farmers started coming to that his field, and they also got excited. Then he started making seed and selling seed to the farmers. And if you see the total turnover of his company today, Myco Seeds, it will be in lakhs of crores. And same is the story of Mr. M. Mandav Prabhakar Rao, who is owning our Newsvideo Seeds in Hyderabad. And the same is Mr. Bhaskar Rao of Kaveri Seeds in Hyderabad. And the success, the crux of the story is like they started with maybe one type of seed, which is more important to that region, which is having more demand among the farmers, and slowly they build their empires, they build their companies. So what I would like to say is like whenever we start any entrepreneurship, we should try to understand which is more attractable to the consumers, which will create a demand. And from demand anyway, the business builds only because of demands and whatever we supply. And when demand is increasing and our company grows, automatically money flows in. So this is how industries or entrepreneurships start. The same is successful commercial entrepreneurs. Like if you see in Kadiyam, there is one gentleman called Palle Venkaya. I think he recently expired. And if you see his nursery or the amount of money he makes out of nurseries in Kadiyam, it is probably he started with a small sort of nursery. And even in Maharashtra, most of the people talk about Kadiyam, and they particularly talk about Mr. Palle Venkaya. So this is how entrepreneurship starts and everything. And if you go to Krishnagiri district of Tamil Nadu and adjoining part of Bangalore, if you see that most of the polyhouses growing fruits and vegetables, especially flowers there, they're all owned by IT guys and most of these chartered accountants. And these guys are making huge money out of commercial floriculture. Especially they grow a lot lot of flowers and all. They are exporting. They are completely exporting all the flowers. And the same is in the Jalgaon district of Maharashtra. They grow a lot of vegetables in polyhouses, and these fruits and vegetables, they are of highest quality and they fetch a lot. They're very good price in the market, and such an entrepreneurship will make turn around your fortunes from unsustainable agriculture to most commercial and most profitable agri-business models. And the same is there is one Gujarati couple in Gujarat. They are highly educated IT professionals, and they are producing organic foods, and they are making a good money. And the same is Mr. Harikrishna Devarapalli in Telangana. He is growing only organic mangoes, and he is getting a premium price. And of course, you might be identifying this man. Who is this? This is Mr. Mohanlal. He has a huge organic farm in his in
Mr.
Kerala.
Ankit, don't share the screen. It's disturbing the presentation, resource person's presentation. Mr. Ankit.
Yeah, right.
So please reshare once again.
And if you see that on the dairy side,
Okay, sir, continue, sir.
You see just this dairy farm.
Once again, you stop the sharing and hello, sir. Sir, sorry for the interruption. Once again, you stop the sharing and represent once again, sir.
Shall I? Okay, right. Is there any problem?
No, sir. Someone is, presenting, sir. Sometimes, so that it is.
Oh, okay, right.
Yes.
Yeah, not a problem. Yeah. If you see this slide, it gives, I think it really excite a lot of listeners, audience in the group. Like, these are all women, these are all young ladies, especially those belonging to Hyderabad, Bangalore, Rajasthan, and part of Karnataka. And these girls have understood the basic what we say importance of desi cow milk and growing market of desi cow milk. Silpi Sinha, she started producing desi cow milk with completely not using any chemicals and all. And now our company's turnover is 70 lakhs. And the same is Ankita. And she is producing A2 desi cow milk and some traditional milk products. And she is earning like 1 lakh per month. The same with Divya Reddy in Hyderabad. She sells milk at 200 rupees per liter. And what I would like to make it a clear point for the audience here is like, if the quality of your products are premium, if the products are of good quality, you can fetch good money out of it. And that is what is exactly is called a good business model. And that is what we need to understand. The same is like Mehal Kejriwal, and she sells the milk in the name of a brand of Happy Milk, and the turnover of her company is 5 crores. And the same. And if you see the successful some poultry entrepreneurs, the first picture what shows is Sri Chittur Jagpatrao Garu, who belongs to our Kulla in East Godavari district. And he is the person, because I was very closely associated to him, and he was always used to tell me, when after completing his post graduation from a university in Calcutta, he came to Hyderabad with. He told me that he came to Hyderabad with 20,000 rupees. He started taking eggs from poultry and eggs in the surrounding areas, and slowly he developed a friendship with Dr. B.V. Rao, and they started developing a poultry, and they traveled across the world, and whenever they go out to the different countries, they started identifying good layers which will give better eggs and broilers. And these two guys has revolutionized the entire poultry industry, poultry business in this country. And these guys have not started just like as a because they are agriculture graduates or animal science graduates. They are just They're Dr. B.V. Rao is Sri B.V. Rao Garu is a commerce student, and Jagat Rao Garu is some technical guy, and they have revolutionized the complete poultry industry in this country. So there are huge scope, and if you come to, and this is one more very good business area, agri business area, that is goat and sheep. If you see the statistics, Telangana is the highest meat consuming state in this country. It's almost like if the population is taken, it is like 90% of Telangana people consume meat. That is what statistics shows. And if you see the statistics, the highest population of goat and sheep in this country is in Rajasthan, where the Rajasthanis don't eat meat. It means the meat consuming habit in Rajasthan is very, very less. And that's how loads and loads of trucks and trucks of goats come from Rajasthan to Hyderabad every day, almost like every day. And looking at these opportunities, looking at this system, Mr. Mahendra Reddy and Prithvik Reddy, they started growing goat and sheep in Hyderabad, and which is again a very congenial place. And now they are making huge money. And these are the opportunities. And other than this, like you might have seen this. This is a trap. This is a trap with some chemical, and which attracts the males of any pest, any insect, and it controls the population of that pest. So, and this is the technique. Basically, a scientist have identified it, but Mr. Raghunath was a non-technical guy, and he understood the business out of it, and he took the chemical from the scientist, and he started and making a very good business model, and now his turnover is almost like 10 crores. So, and again, this is one of the finest business models turned out of a guy from our Canada only. He is a Srinivas Malladi. What he understood is like there are the areas where water is very scarce. Water cannot be taken to that place, like in canals or whatever it is. Then he brought this mission called this mission from France, and this mission can be taken from one place to any place by attaching to the. This is called hose reel. By attaching to the tractor, and this hose will be put in the attached to a tank with water or any canal or like any pump or anything. It will be attached, and this is the outlet. This is called a rain gun. Rain gun will be attached, left in the field, and it gives a measured irrigation of 10% rain or 15% rain or 20% rain. That is like it is a measured irrigation in the form of rain. And you know the beauty what Sri Malladi made a model out of it is like he is giving irrigation on higher basis. He charges 2,000 rupees per 1 acre of 10%, 10 mm rain. For giving 10 mm rain in 1 acre of land, he charges 2,000 rupees. And this is a business model. Means like you never know when people start craving for water and people start paying for water. Anyway, now we are paying for drinking water almost like 20 rupees per 1 liter. And the same will happen even for the agriculture. And this guy is around 35 years old. He's a guy. He's a mechanical engineer from Kakinada, and now he's in the US. And he understood the business model, and he is doing this. This is in Karnataka. In Karnataka, he's doing a lot of projects in Karnataka, Rajasthan, and even in the parts of Anantapur district where a drought seriously hit after taking up this groundnut crop. So, and these are the business models what can bring a lot of fortunes for the youth. But one has to be very, very critical in identifying a problem and converting that into an opportunity. And one sincere suggestion is like not every opportunity is bring in money, but you need to be very, very choosy in identifying a business opportunity and go ahead with this. And coming to the opportunities, the same again. I want to summarize like in agriculture, seeds is an opportunity. Making nurseries is an opportunity. Nursery doesn't mean nurseries of Kadiam nurseries like flowers and ornamental plants. Even nurseries of tomato, vegetables, nurseries of flower crops, and even nowadays a nursery of rice is paddy is also sold. And the company called Kripco is making a lot of money, especially in West Godavari and East Godavari district. They are growing nursery and they are selling the nursery. And even because of shortage of labor, they have come up with a transplanter. They come with suppose for 1 acre they charge somewhere around 2,000 or 2,500, and they come up with the nursery and they come with the transplanter and they will complete the transplanting and they go. And again, in fertilizers is an opportunity, whether it is a chemical fertilizer or a biofertilizer. If you can produce a quality product out of it, it is a great opportunity. The same is with pesticides, which is used against both insects as well as diseases. And nowadays, biopesticides are making very good impact as a business model. And these traps and stickers, traps and stickers have a huge opportunity in, especially in fruits and vegetables, because fruits and vegetables, the crop goes for more than 5 months or 6 months, and sometimes fruit crops will grow for years. So if the continuous application of chemicals and all is not easy, so traps and stickers are one of the best methods to attract or kill the insects. And again, what I shown in the case of Sri Maladi, it is water irrigation itself is a big opportunity, and especially this irrigation, like rural youth and even rural women can become an entrepreneurs, and maybe if they organize organize some cooperative type of things in the one village or 4-5 villages, and if they understand what are the crops grown and when to be irrigated, then these water entrepreneurs can go to that field and give irrigation and collect the money out of it. The same is storage. And of course, if you really understand what is the amount of loss agriculture produce out of bad storage as well as perishables is like almost like 30 to 35%. It's like if you are producing 100 kg of tomato, 35 kgs of tomato is going waste because of poor storage or whatever it is. So, and I don't know why none of the governments are really not interested in providing good storage, other than age-old Food Corporation of India and Central Warehouse Corporation. None of the governments have created any sort of storage facilities in the country as well, any state or country. And this is a huge opportunity for especially the entrepreneurs, like private entrepreneurs, youth. They can nowadays, even as a farmer, if I am storing my produce in a store, in a godown, I can get some loan out of it, and so that I need not go for a panic sale. I need not worry about when to sell. Whenever I get a good price in the market, I can go for selling it. So storage facility is one, and processing. Processing is one which really creates value, adds value to the commodity, because it becomes a produce. A produce is always a revenue generating item. So even if you see, there is a lot of progress, especially in Sri Food Park, and even there are so many food parks in Palamaneru of Chittoor district. And even if you go around the Chittoor district, there are so many food processing plants, especially of Heritage or many other companies, Jain Irrigation's processing plant. There are so many processing plants, and even because if you even see the quantity and the facilities available, our processing facilities are really not up to the mark. Then there is always a gap, and if any interesting candidate can jump in and start with a small scale processing plants and package foods, because we are seeing like nowadays both husband and wife are working, so there is no time for them to cook the food, and most of the time they are trying to get ready to cook vegetables, ready to cook material and cooking, or otherwise they are trying to get packaged food. So, and again, this is a huge opportunity to jump in and do business. And again, in terms of animal husbandry, milk, I still don't believe that feeling that fat ghee is dangerous to the health, but definitely not. Ghee is not at all unhealthy, but anything we eat in excess quantity is unhealthy. But ghee is one of the most important uh, oily food. One should not leave it. And if you see, as a milk is one of the good source of ghee, so uh, we should make a habit of taking more milk. And one of the best business models are whether you are have a farm of buffaloes, especially the breeds like Murrah, and the cows, especially we have both like crossbreds like Holstein Friesian or and there are very good Indian cows like Gir and Sahiwal, which are very good. And even nowadays there is a huge demand for goat's milk, and there is one European breed called Sanan. If you have a farm of Sanan, it's its milk has got a huge demand in the urban societies. And coming to meat and beef, there is a huge demand. And again, there is something called a breeding project, whether it is a cow or buffalo or goat or sheep. Like if you can produce a good quality calves, female calves or female goats, there is a huge demand. And especially there is one company in Maharashtra. They produce kits of Boer goat, Osmanabadi goat, and if you go for a if you go with a demand of buying 5 kits with them, they will give the appointment after 2 years. Like that is the demand, because they produce pure breeds. Pure breeds, again, this is a huge opportunity, and because this business doesn't need much of the investment. At the same time, there is a lot of investment sources for breeding projects as well as goat projects, commercial projects. Youth can just jump in and start this project. And the same is with poultry and fisheries. And of course, fisheries, there will be a lot of risks in that. Anyway, taking risk is a bit different issue. The same is with different ancillary occupations as well as biologicals. And the most important business opportunities, if you can start a export our agency, and if you can collect good quality material after proper quality testing, there is always a huge demand for exports, and exports always bring in good money. So and how to transform, like I know earlier days there were a lot of farmer cooperatives, and now farmer cooperatives have most of the farmer cooperatives have been killed very strategically by the different governments. But still, there are some good cooperatives existing even in Andhra Pradesh and Telangana and most of the states. And if these cooperatives can convert themselves into cooperatives into an agribusiness models, or there are some micro SMEs, MSMEs, what they call, if the micros convert themselves into SMEs, or SMEs convert themselves into farmer producer organizations as well as farmer producer companies. If you see this under the banner of doubling the farmers' income, the famous advocacy of our honorable Prime Minister Mr. Narendra Modi, they are giving a lot of importance for farmer producer organizations and farmer producer companies. And if you can convert yourself into farm groups of FPOs and FPVCs, there are huge demand. And definitely, when I say you start it, you will definitely ask me who will fund me. So there are financial institutes both by the central government as well as national governments, state governments, and there is a national SME funding, and there is NGO SME equity funds, and there are investment funds, and there are some B2B funds, and there are so many angel investors, and there are so many private funding agencies who offer a lot of funds on very competitive basis. And see, the issue is like most of the time people say, I have a plan, but I don't have a fund. But your plan should be sustainable. Your plan should always be profitable. And as an investor, whether it is a bank or whether it is a private guy, he always look at whether whether after investing so much of money, will you make some money or not? Unless and until he is confident of your plan and your project proposal, nobody will jump in and just put their money and burn their fingers. So we need to create very good project proposal before going to for funding. So there are many institutions who are ready to offer money, but we need to have a better plan. And there are some institutional supports like this. Okay, then if somebody wants to study agribusiness, I just want to give a short information, like there are national institutes of national importance, like IIM Ahmedabad, IIM Lucknow, then Indian Institute of Rural Management Anand. Then there are some national level institutes like Manage in Hyderabad, NIIM in Jaipur, NAM in Hyderabad, Damnicom in Pune, IIPM and Symbios. These are the institutes where you can study, but means like they offer both post-graduation degrees, undergraduate degrees, and also they offer diploma degrees. See, nowadays what is happening, most of the times whenever you are going from some sort of funding, they always ask for whether you have a degree in that particular related issue or not. So these things will help you, even a small diploma degree or these things help you while fetching loans. So finally, just want to say something like when you start your journey, there is always a bifurcation and diversion, one heading towards success, one heading towards failure. If you are really planning to have a success in your life, you should always go with an original idea and try to understand your customer and set something, an attainable and a measurable goal. And whenever you are planning a business, your budget should be realistic, and all resources, allocation of all resources should be very, very planned, and it should be very cutthroat. And your management and team should be very, very smart to understand if there are any risks coming up. They should be in a position to understand the risks and avoid the risks with a proper planning. And there should be a proper communication from among the team as well as with the consumers. Otherwise, you might be thinking something and your consumers are not able to understand. Then again, the demand is not driven. So this is very important, and you should have a proper risk management capabilities. And those who always fail are like, it usually happen, copycat. Sometimes they see Gauri Shankar is succeeded in this. Oh, okay, I will also start it. That's what, if you go to Kadiyam also, you will find not less than 1,000 nurseries with sharing the same wall. Means like they just copycat. Means if that is happening, so no one is really getting all the benefit. Like so whenever you are planning a business model, try to avoid copying someone or just believing in success stories. And one thing is very, very, very fact, like whenever somebody says this is my success story, he will talk only about the success story. He will not talk about where he has failed, how he has failed, how many what do you say, how many holes Banyan is having under his shirt. So his Banyan might be having at least 1,000 holes, but he will never talk about his failures. He will talk about only success. And just by listening to your success story, they never get excited and just jump in. You have to evaluate it and properly do it. And when your project proposal is not properly prepared, you are bound to be failed. And you are not trying to know your customer, you are going to fail. Your leadership is bad. Your goals are fictitious. If you are mismanaging the resources, so most of the time, what happens? No, the people take loan and they just spend it on certain area and they won't spend on something else. So the management of resources is very important. And if your team is not efficient, and if your communication is not proper within the team as well as with the consumers, and every project, whenever it is heading towards a failure, it definitely sends some signals. If you are unable to identify the signals of failure, then you are absolutely bound to get failed. So you need to be very, very tactful when you are talking about a project. With this, I thank one and all for for your patient hearing, and my special thanks to Principal Sir Dr. Umadevi Garu and his team, and my team, especially Dr. Nitin. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
So, madam, now maybe open for queries or.
Participants, you can unmute yourself and ask any queries if you have.
Yeah, I would be very happy to answer you. And not only from all the slides, whatever I have showed, anything related to agribusiness or agriculture, if somebody is curious to know, please go ahead.
Any questions, participants?
Hello.
Yes, ma'am.
Hello.
Yes.
I am Dr. Pompi Ghosh, Assistant Professor of Botany from West Bengal. My college is just in a village, inside a village. Our students are not like to read more, but they don't like to be a farmer. How do we motivate them to be a good farmer or a agri-based entrepreneur?
Shall I answer, Dr. Ghosh?
Sir, you can't hear me.
Yeah, I could hear you. I could hear you. You say
Yes,
that
sir. My question is, how can I? Yes, sir. Answer.
Yeah, the simple funda. See, whenever people come from rural background or whenever they are not accessible to the information, definitely there is a lack of motivation. And as a teacher, you need to motivate them. You need to tell about success stories. You need to tell about the opportunities. See, most of the problem in this session is they don't really identify the opportunities. Maybe that is again a deficiency of teachers, that we are not talking about opportunities. We are not talking about the what is going on around the world. So my suggestion is, Miss Ghosh, you subject them to the different opportunities. You bring in different speakers. There are very good speakers in the contemporary world who can talk about opportunities in agriculture as well as opportunities being a farmer. See, the issue is like, unless and until you excite them, they will not take up any of the work. So you need to excite them. To excite them, you have to show that there is a profit in that, or there is a benefit in that.
Thank you, sir. We are organizing some webinars. One day you will be our speaker, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
sir. Hello, sir.
Yeah, please go.
Myself, Dr. Lakshmi Shah, principal of a college from Karnataka.
Yes, sir.
Sir, my question is, recently some policy changes are made as far as the purchase of agricultural land is concerned. Earlier, there was ceiling limit.
Yes,
now corporates are allowed to purchase the agricultural land. What may be the possible impact of this policy? The agri entrepreneurs in the days to come, because as far as Karnataka is concerned, lot of products are now going on.
Sir, these are
what may be the impact, sir? The change in the policy. Small farmers are expected to lose their land holding.
This is a passing phase. It will not create a very serious impact on anyone. Like even if you think that corporates are buying the lands of farmers, how much lands they will buy? It's like they will not be buying all the lands in the country. They will be interested in some lands in some areas where they can, where they have some political support. But the issue is like farmers need to understand what to grow in this area, because now slowly getting reduced in all levels, whether it is land or other resources, they are coming down. The availability of resources coming down. Even the soils, quality of soil is getting deteriorated. So now farmer need to understand very closely what to grow, and when you are growing it, what is the more money. Otherwise, it will be very, very difficult for any farmer to sustain in days to come.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Please tell me. Yeah, I could hear you.
डॉक्टर नारायण सर बात कर रहा हूँ सोलापुर से।
बोलिए।
सर एग्रो टूरिज्म के बारे में थोड़ा बताइए। व्हाट इज द फ्यूचर ऑफ एग्रो टूरिज्म इन इंडिया?
एग्रो टूरिज्म जो है ये बहुत नया कॉन्सेप्ट है। एग्रो टूरिज्म मतलब जैसे आप एक ऐसा बनाना चाहिए कि जहाँ पे आपको अच्छी हवा आना चाहिए। मतलब एक जगह पे आप गया है, मतलब वहां पे खाने के लिए अच्छा सुविधा होना चाहिए, रहने के लिए अच्छा सुविधा होना चाहिए, उसके साथ साथ वहां पे हवा अच्छा होना चाहिए। एंड ये जो करने के लिए, और दूसरी चीज एग्रीकल्चर टूरिज्म जो बात चल रही है, एक्चुअली बेसिक कॉन्सेप्ट ये है कि बच्चों में एग्रीकल्चर के बारे में रेस्पेक्ट बढ़ाना है, फार्मर के बारे में रेस्पेक्ट बढ़ाना है, और उनको ये जानकारी देना है हमारा जो फसल हम जो खाते हैं उसको कैसे उगाते हैं। मतलब हाउ वी आर प्रोड्यूसिंग आवर ओन फूड, व्हाट इज फार्मर डूइंग फॉर अस। ये नया जनरेशन में एक इंटरेस्ट क्रिएट करना है, एक रेस्पेक्ट क्रिएट करना है। बिकॉज नाउअडेज मोस्ट ऑफ द चिल्ड्रन व्हाट hotel, which when we are buying, it is coming from the hotel, or it is rice is coming from the mall. It is not coming from the mall, it is coming from the farmer's field. एग्रो टूरिज्म ऐसी होता है जहां पे ये सब कुछ आगे आने वाला पीढ़ियों को समझाने के लिए एक नया सोच है। तो ये जो चीज है। एंड दूसरी है जहां पे अर्बन एरियाज है, अर्बन एरियाज में ऐसा हो गया कि कुछ बहुत सारे फैमिलीज ज्वाइन होके एक जगह पे उनकी महीने का, हफ्ते का जो वेजिटेबल्स चाहिए, फ्रूट्स चाहिए, ये सब एक जगह पे उगा के, इससे क्या होता है उनको वो क्वालिटी के ऊपर कॉन्शियस रहता है, क्वालिटी के ऊपर कॉन्फिडेंस रहता है। इसलिए ये एग्रो टूरिज्म का जो कॉन्सेप्ट है उसके लिए बहुत अच्छा दिन, आगे के दिन में बहुत अच्छे फ्यूचर है। एंड एनी एग्रीकल्चर एंटरप्रेन्योर कैन थिंक इन दैट डायरेक्शन, बट you need to have a good amount of land with good amount of resources like water and all to create the facility.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Is it okay, sir?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Sir.
बोलिए। Yeah.
Sir, I want to start a business or company or industry. But which is best one, sir?
Which company you want to start? In agriculture? Where are you calling from? Where are you calling from?
I am from Kakinada.
Kakinada.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any land, or you want to do something related to agriculture or something?
I want to do something, sir, but I don't know what I do. Idea. I want to less investment and start a business.
Somehow you start trading of means if you are interested in agriculture produce, you start trading of vegetables or start trading of fruits. Means one thing you can do, like you go around your area, you go around your area and try to understand who are the farmers or which is the village who are producing good quality vegetables. Suppose, for example, I am saying, suppose a village nearby your Kakinada Samala, somebody, if you get to know that the fruits
Yes.
means like fruits are like I don't know now whether they are growing custard apples or not. If the custard apples are of good quality, you try to procure them and try to create an artificial ripening facility in a very small area and try to phase the ripening stages and try to provide to the what we say, if there might be some group houses or big apartments in Kakinada, go to those places and try to provide them and you slowly they will start attracted to your business model. They will definitely come to you and buy from you. And when you are doing anything, you see that you will come today and tomorrow you will vanish. Don't do that. If you are planning something, you see that you are doing continuously the same activity. Suppose you are bringing tomatoes or vegetables to a group house and you are selling on Monday. Maybe you stop, you don't go there on Tuesday, you go there on Wednesday. And it should not happen that you do it one day and discontinue forever. So if you are doing such things, nobody will believe you and your business will never take off. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Trading is the best thing you can do.
Thank you, sir. I have a small idea, sir. Hello.
Tell me.
I have a small idea, sir. Sir, what
తెలుగులో అడగండి.
అది నేను ఎలా సబ్మిట్ చేయాలో తెలియట్లేదు సార్ ఐడియా. నాకు ఇప్పుడు ప్రోటీన్ పౌడర్స్ ఉంటాయి కదా సార్, ఆ బిజినెస్ పెట్టాలనుంది.
మీకు ఐడియా కరెక్ట్ గా పెట్టాలి అంటే మీ వల్ల కానప్పుడు ఏదైనా చార్టెడ్ అకౌంటెంట్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్ళి ఆయనతో సలహా తీసుకుంటే ఆయన రాసి పెడతాడు మీకు ఎలా రాయాలని. చార్టెడ్ అకౌంటెంట్ హెల్ప్ తీసుకుంటే ఏమవుతుందంటే మీరు రేపు ఫండింగ్ కి బ్యాంక్ వెళ్ళినా దేనికి వెళ్ళినా వాళ్ళు మీకు ఒక అంటే రూపాయి ఇన్వెస్ట్మెంట్ పెడితే రూపాయి పావలా వస్తుంది అన్నది వాళ్ళు ఎట్లా వస్తుంది అన్నది చూపించగలుగుతారు. అప్పుడు చూపించిన రోజు మీరు ఏ బ్యాంక్ వెళ్ళినా ఏమైనా ఫండింగ్ కోసం వెళ్ళినా కూడా మీకు ఉపయోగపడుతుంది. ఎప్పుడైనా కూడా ఒక వ్యాపారం చేసినప్పుడు వ్యాపారంలో ఒక చిట్టా పుస్తకం ఉంటుంది కదా, ఏం పెడుతున్నాము ఏం చేస్తున్నాము అన్నది అది రాసుకోవాలి. మనం ఈ మధ్యకాలంలో చిట్టా పుస్తకాలు లేవు, మనం రాసుకోవట్లేదు, అది ఓన్లీ చార్టెడ్ అకౌంట్ రాస్తున్నాడు. అందుకని మీరు చార్టెడ్ అకౌంట్ దగ్గరికి వెళ్తే ఆయన చిట్టా పుస్తకం అంతా మీకు రాసి పెడతాడు. రాసి పెట్టినప్పుడు మీకు అర్థమవుతుంది అసలు ఎక్కడ డబ్బులు పెడుతున్నాము ఎక్కడ డబ్బులు వస్తాయి. అది తెలిసేంత వరకు మీరు ఏ బిజినెస్ పెట్టకండి, పెట్టారంటే మాత్రం నష్టపోతారు. రైట్ అండి.
Thank you.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Sir, my name is Mohan Raj from Pondicherry. I am an MSc Agricultural Extension student. Sir, if I want to start a new agri-business, means what are the steps initially you have kept in mind, sir? What are the steps?
First thing is like you should have an idea. Means like first you should go around your area and try to understand where the society is lacking, which area there is a means like a gap. So you pick up that gap. Suppose in your area like there is no processed food, you pick up that idea and try to understand, build a business proposal. It is called project proposal. You prepare a project proposal with the help of a chartered accountant area. Okay. Or also you can contact any bank people, NABARD people. If in your area there will be guys who will be working in NABARD, you talk to them and tell them, sir, I have an idea about this and I want to propose this. So then they will give you draft models. If suppose you want to start something like a goat farm, if you want to start like a vegetable production farm, so when you go to NABARD, they will always have some draft project proposals. They will give you a project proposal and you go through it, and if your idea is fitting in it, then you start preparing entire model of your own. until and unless you prepare the business model, don't venture into any business.
Okay.
Because in business, any sort of loss will demoralize you and it will scare you from doing business in future. And if you are failing, you are setting an example for hundreds of people who think of starting a business. Okay. Right.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Hello. So may I ask a question?
Please go ahead.
Sir, my nephew has kept 10 cows and now he's trying to move on into some agri business with ginger. So I am from Uttarakhand, Champawat. Can you suggest what I should guide him about agri business? How could he move on with that ginger business? He wants to grow ginger and he wants to sell that. Is that good for
If you
Champawat, Uttarakhand?
if you are, I believe Uttarakhand, most of the farmers chemicals. So if you are producing ginger without using any chemicals in a most non-pesticide pest management model, and if you are getting good quality ginger, don't try to sell it in Uttarakhand. You look for a market where there is a good market for ginger. Like especially for ginger markets, Delhi, Sadar Bazaar is a big market. Even Maharashtra is a big market. That is what even in the new agriculture bill, they are integrating all the markets. They will be providing all the farmers on your mobile itself. So when you are growing it, you try to label your product as organic product, and when it is labeled as organic product, definitely your buyer will go for a quality test. Yeah, and if he is not finding any residues, definitely they will try to give premium price for your product. So venturing into ginger is not a bad idea. You can go for it, but try to follow all good practices, right?
Yeah, got it, sir. Sir, can you guide us? What planning should we do before we move on to that? Because we have already got 10 cows now.
10 cows of which breed?
Sir, they are the local cows. I don't know what they are, but they are local cows found in the Champawat district of Uttarakhand. Short height.
Okay. Now, the best thing is like you have to decide whether you want to sell any product. Like suppose you have a cow, it gives you milk. Whether you want to sell as a milk or you want to make a product out of it. Which
So
like,
we are planning to go for products.
So
dairy products.
Yeah, you just think about it. There are so many dairy products which can be made with the minimum techniques. In this aspect, if you can talk to people like Central Institute of Post Harvest Technology, CFET Ludhiana, there is an institute called CFET Ludhiana in Ludhiana. If you can visit them, they have a lot of even in National Dairy Research Institute in Karnal, NDRA Karnal, they have so many new technologies for making products out of milk, animal products. So you go there, you visit them if possible, and pick up which is the best and which needs less investment. Whenever you start any business, try to start something with lowest investment. Okay.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Gauri sir, for your motivational and valuable address, a very insightful address. Thank you so much. Now I request Dr. T. Prasad Rao Garu, Coordinator IQAC, to deliver final remarks of webinar series. Prasad Rao Garu, sir. Sorry, he is not available, I think. I request Dr. Yoginder Singh, HOD of Commerce, to give concluding remarks of the webinar series. Singh sir. Singh sir.
Unmute yourself, sir. Singh sir.
I think he is there, but he didn't unmute himself. Ask him to unmute.
Yeah.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. You are audible,
You
sir.
are audible, sir.
Okay, madam. Madam, good evening to all.
Good evening, sir.
Right?
Yeah, good
Right,
evening,
madam?
sir.
So
Good evening, sir.
let me introduce. Myself is Dr. Yoginder Singh, Head of the Department of Commerce, Dr. SRK, Government Arts Janam. First of all, I would like to congratulate the convener of this webinar, National Webinar Series, Dr. R. Umadevi, and coordinators, VC Devi, madam, and Sheikh Khazai, madam, and our organizing committee members, this BB Veerbhadra Rao and DJB, madam, DJ Bharti, madam, right, madam? So, for the successful completion of this webinar series, so far we have conducted 5 national seminar, and this was one our last webinar of this series, 6th one. So next, I would like to thankful all our beloved principal, Dr. R. B. Bhaskar Reddy sir, and IQAC coordinator for their valuable support and encouragement for the completion of successful completion of this series. Now I would like to thanks all the resource persons for sparing their valuable time and resources and their energy, without whose support this program could not have been completed, or we could not have got the success in the completion of these programs. So for the completion of this series, last but not least, I would extend my regards and thankful to all the dignitaries across the country for their valuable participation, listening patiently. And last but not least, I would like to extend my wholehearted support or wholehearted special thanks to Sheikh Salaruddin for his technical support. So thank you, ma'am. Thank you one and all. Stay safe and stay home. Right, madam?
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Now I request Mrs. V. Sridevi to propose vote of thanks on behalf of the Department of Commerce, Dr. SRK Government Arts College.
Respected dignitaries and dear students, good evening to one and all. This is V. Sridevi, Assistant Professor of Commerce and one of the coordinator of the webinar series. It's my privilege to propose vote of thanks on the successful completion of this webinar. I, on the behalf of Department of Commerce, Dr. SRK Government Arts College, and my own behalf, extend a heartfelt thanks and sincere vote of thanks to all of you. All of you made the series very successful and memorable. At the outset, I would like to express my deep gratitude to the esteemed resource person, Dr. Gauri Shankar Rao Garu, for his immediate acceptance to the address of the webinar beyond his busy work schedule. I would like to thank from the bottom of my heart for the valuable and insightful address on agriculture, its allied businesses, the opportunities providing to the youth. Sir, your eminent presence has indeed made this event a memorable one, and we unitedly thank you for your valuable and thoughtful words. Thank you very much. I extend my sincere thanks to our principal, Dr. B. Bhaskar Reddy Garu, for his support and encouragement in organizing this webinar series. I would like to express my heartfelt thanks to all the participants for your active and continuous participation. Dear all, your participation enhanced our strength and responsibility in organizing the series. Thank you so much for your continuous support throughout the series. I extend special thanks to the HOD of Commerce, Dr. Yogendra Singh sir, for the concluding remarks and support. I would like to thank the member of the organizing committee, all the faculty members for their support and contribution towards the success of this program. I would like to thank the coordinators of this webinar series, Mrs. Sheikh Khazabi and myself, for the active and dedicated support in organizing the webinar series. I would like to express my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. R. Umadevi, convener of the webinar series, for the initiation, effort, dedication in organizing the webinar series successfully. Without her idea and effort, we cannot organize the webinar series in such a successful manner. Ma'am, thank you so much for making us a part of this event. Thank you, ma'am. Last but least, a very sincere thanks to the man behind the screen, Mr. Silaruddin Sheikh, for the technical assistance in organizing the webinar series successfully. He continuously provided technical support throughout the series, even though he is in no way related to our institution. He assisted us in a great way, though he is busy with his work. Thanks is a simple word for him. I extend our heartfelt gratitude to Silaruddin sir for his patience and support, and we accept the same in future also. Once again, thank you one and all. Stay home, stay safe, and keep learning. Thank you. Thanks to all the participants. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Thank you, Gaurish.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, one and all.